It's every athlete's worst nightmare. You're moments away from bringing your team to glory, and then you get benched. For Jalen Hurts, that moment came in the 2018 National Championship game after leading his Alabama Dynasty program to back-to-back titles in 28 straight starts. But what if I told you that this decision by Nick Saban showed Hurts' true character, becoming the turning point that led to the rise of a future NFL franchise QB? With Super Bowl 59 right around the corner, a chance for Jalen Hurts to get his revenge against the Chiefs and win his first ring, let's take a look back at where it all began, explaining his unorthodox career from Bama to Oklahoma. There's no doubt that this low point in Hurts' career is the reason why he's so tough today. You'll have to watch to the end of the video to find out why. If you love football, smash that like button and feel free to subscribe so you never miss out on another upload like this. Let's get into it. In the class of 2016, Jalen Hurts was a four-star recruit, ranked 175th nationally, but the number 3 dual-style quarterback in the nation. He had interest from schools around the country, but the choice came down to Alabama and Mississippi State. And before you laugh to yourself and say that's a no-brainer, the Bulldogs did have a much better program back in 2014 and 2015 compared to present day. Going into 16, they were looking to fill the quarterback void with Dak Prescott heading to the NFL, and the Tide also had an open spot at quarterback with national champion Jake Coker graduating, but some stiff competition with 5-star Blake Barnett waiting in the QB room. Hurts decided to take the chance and embrace the competition, signing with Bama, a program considered a dynasty, winning 4 titles in the last 7 years under Nick Saban. Hurts didn't win the starting job in 2016, and Blake Barnett started the opener against USC, but it was clear that Hurts was much more talented, and one game is all it took for Saban to make the change. In Game 2 against Western Kentucky, Hurts had the keys. He was in pretty special company, becoming the first Tide true freshman to start at quarterback since Vince Sutton in 1984. Jalen brought something to the table that had been lacking from recent Alabama quarterbacks: dynamic athleticism. No offense to Greg McElroy, A.J. McCarron, Blake Sims, and Jake Coker, but those guys weren't game breakers. Hurts was. When it was all said and done for 2016, Hurts had set the single-season school record for rushing yards, passing touchdowns, 100-yard rushing games. I can keep going, but you get it. He also led the Tide to a perfect 13-0 regular season and a national title appearance against Clemson, a rematch from 2015. But a shadow was cast over the sensational year after Hurts delivered a below-average performance in the Natty, and Alabama came up just short. On the bright side, it was only year 1 for the QB, and he'd surely have plenty of more opportunities to shine on the biggest stage, or so he thought. Flash forward to the 2017 season, where it was much of the same success for Hurts and the Tide before things took an unexpected turn. Alabama was averaging nearly 40 points a game, and despite a brutal Iron Bowl loss to their rival Auburn in the last game of the season, causing them to miss the SEC title, they made the playoffs as a 4 seed. Although Hurts' passing stats regressed slightly in year 2, he wasn't asked to do as much this time, since the backfield had Damian Harris, Bo Scarborough, and Najee Harris. Going into the CFP semifinal against Clemson, not a single soul outside the program thought Jalen Hurts' job was in the balance. I mean, come on, he started 26 straight games, leading his team to a 24-2 record. But within the program, people started to sense a change. In 2017, Alabama had a 5-star freshman on the roster who was unknown to most fans around the country. He was so talented that he would split first-team reps with the experienced Hurts during practice. The kid's name? Tua Tagovailoa. In the days leading up to the Sugar Bowl against Clemson, Hurts came down with the flu, meaning Tua took the starters reps. And this is what the former Tide offensive assistant Michael Locksley said. Quote, "Anyone that remembers those 2 or 3 practices, man, we looked like a different team. I could just remember the 2 or 3 days of practices where the ball didn't ever touch the ground." End quote. To this day, what many people don't know is that Tua was supposed to get reps in the semifinal. Instead, Hurts played every snap, going 16 of 24 with 2 touchdowns and an overall great win, 24-6 over the Tigers. He won the game's offensive MVP. So when Alabama was trailing at halftime to Georgia in the national championship, with Hurts struggling to get going on offense with only 3 completions, it was a no-brainer that Nick Saban would pass the torch to his prized freshman who could give his team a different kind of spark. York. Bama believed that Tua was a more poised and accurate passer. He could hold his own in the pocket, opposed to Hurts' style of taking off and running. America was shocked when they saw this freshman backup lead the charge in the second half instead of the proven team leader of the previous 2 seasons. But of course, this would be a moment to never forget in college football history. And for all the joy the title win brought to the Tide fans, coaches, and staff, it also brought a lot of questions and extremely tough decisions for the program to make going forward. When something like that happens to a player, getting benched in the biggest moment of his career, there are 1,000 different directions he can go. And the most popular road taken by athletes is the blame game. Jalen Hurts could have whined, complained, lashed out on his staff, or left the program immediately. Hurts' former high school head coach, Byron Henderson, said this, quote, "He was deeply hurt, but he immediately gathered himself and went back to work. He blamed no one for the way things went at Alabama but himself," end quote. Truly, that was the best and only way to take the situation if he wanted to get better and keep moving forward as a football player. But when Tua was named starter for 2018, Jalen was lost. According to Coach Henderson, quote, "I could remember him asking, 'What do I do now?' end quote." Hurts stayed as a supportive backup for that season while finishing his degree in communications. He still got good time on the field in a smaller role and came up huge in a storybook ending during the SEC Championship versus Georgia. Tua got injured in the 4th with Bama trailing. Hurts took over and led the team on 2 touchdown drives, winning the game 35-28. It was the highlight of the Tide season because Bama got picked apart by Clemson in the Natty, but the college story was not over for Jalen Hurts. Prior to the 2019 season, Jalen Hurts was ready to move on and go to a place that would give him enough reps to have a shot at getting drafted in the NFL. What he learned from the benching at Alabama was invaluable to his mental toughness, and we'll get to that in a moment, but what he physically learned was important too. He needed to refine his game as a pure passer to make it at the next level. So Hurts made the best decision possible, linking up with the so-called quarterback whisperer, Lincoln Riley in Norman with the Oklahoma Sooners. The marriage between these two was perfect. Off the rip in the season opener, Hurts broke OU's single game total offense record with 508 yards. Jalen Hurts was able to be himself and fly, and that's not a planned pun for his NFL career. Anyways, when it was all said and done, Hurts threw for nearly 4,000 yards as a Sooner with 32 touchdowns and 8 interceptions and a ridiculous 20 touchdowns on the ground. He came in second for Heisman voting and took OU to the playoffs, but he was not done getting slept on because come draft night, no first-round team wanted him. The 4 quarterbacks selected before Jalen Hurts in the 2020 NFL Draft go as follows: Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, and Jordan Love. Hurts fell to the 53rd overall pick in the 2nd round to the Philadelphia Eagles. Scouts doubted his passing ability and saw his college success as scheme-based, and of course, the 2018 benching had something to do with it. He was not supposed to be the team's franchise guy. 2 years after draft night, Hurts led his Eagles to a 14-3 record, winning all but one of his starts and a Super Bowl appearance. Another 2 years go by, and he's back on the biggest stage again, looking for revenge. Do I think Jalen would have had a career as successful as he does right now if he didn't have the adversity at Alabama? Actually, I don't. Chances are he would have been more complacent with his game. Using the competition as fuel and not envy made being overlooked in the NFL easy. He's gone through it before. The lesson that we learned from Jalen Hurts can be translated to all of our lives. Failure is not the end of the world. It only is if you let it be. The mindset of a true champion is failure is feedback. You can use these opportunities to learn, grow, and become the best version of yourself. Maybe you're an athlete going through a similar situation, or a content creator where no one sees your vision, or even your girlfriend just dumped you. Use these low points in your life to create something beautiful. Thank you guys for reaching the end of the video. I've been Saturday Shenanigans, your home for unfiltered college football content, and I'll see you guys soon.